thank you guys for having me today. My name is Alex, and I'm a content specialist on the Daydream team. So that's Google's VR and AR and now Google Lens initiatives. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've been working on and kind of a little bit about how to help people kind of differentiate between AR and VR. So our thesis at Google is the closer you get to interacting with computing, the way you interact with the world, the more powerful the experience is. So putting you in the computer is far richer, far more immersive. Bringing the computing to you in your environment is far more powerful and useful as well. To start, I want to go back to Google's mission, which is to start with search. Then we added image search, organized locations with Google Maps, videos with YouTube, and so on. Many types of information that's useful and on the VR team were driven by the same mission. So wouldn't it be amazing to take this information a step farther and organize it to make it universally accessible and useful? So we believe the shift is as big as the smartphone revolution a decade ago and PCs and the internet before that. So we've come a long way, but still have a lot farther way to go. So now let's talk a little bit about VR and AR. So as we all know, since most of us are in VR, VR can take you anywhere, whereas AR can bring anything to you. So those are how we're thinking about these two mediums. So augmented reality versus virtual reality, bringing something to you versus taking you somewhere in the world. So let's start with VR. And this is a video, which I'm not sure it'll play, so we'll just pass on by this. But essentially, virtual reality can be transporting. Just put a VR headset on it, like we're all doing right now, and you can experience not what it's like to see someplace, but what it's like to be there. At Google, we believe in scale, and Daydream is our way of bringing these experiences to the masses. We believe that Daydream provides the best mobile VR experiences, and over the past year and a half since Daydream launched, we have learned a ton. We've learned that Daydream can be more than just a video experience. We've got apps and games like NBA, Need for Speed, over 200 apps that are available on this mobile VR platform. And we've also learned how to be a successful mobile VR experience and are still learning. A few characteristics of successful VR would be clean UX, solid performance as in no crashes and bugs. Knowing that VR is still a very new platform, polished onboarding is going to be extremely important, and it's going to take some hand-holding in a lot of cases to get the user comfortable. If you're interested in developing a game, a lot of game open loops have been more popular, and developing emotionally engaging narratives gets customers more invested, and keeping up with your reviews and ratings will help the evangelism of your experience. So the community can provide a lot of insight and value when you're developing these apps. A lot of these practices, if not all, will definitely carry over when developing for new form factors that are coming to market. So we have our Mirage Solo, which is our Lenovo headset coming out this month, and we're really excited to see the platform grow and get more people to experience what it's like to have a 6 degrees of freedom experience that doesn't require a headset or a phone. And when I say 6 degrees, I'm referring to being able to lean around and see different experiences based on where you are in space. So here are the different headsets that we've had. We've had Google Cardboard, Google Daydream, and the device I just spoke about, the standalone headset. And with Cardboard, at the very bottom, it says 10 million have shipped, 150 million app installs, and 30 apps with over 100 million installs. So it's a pretty powerful platform that we started with. And I also just referenced the Daydream, which is our premium mobile VR, which is accessible on a Pixel or an S8 or a couple other devices you can find on our web. But this one's nice because it gets more people into VR that and quick. It doesn't require a PC or anything like that. It's just cell phone. And then the Lenovo, which will be launching this month, and that's with our partnership with Lenovo. We will have that's a 6.3 experience that I was telling you about that will be really exciting to see how users make use of this new platform.
Yep.
So
Yep.
this is kind of a funny statistic about how humans in 2000 had a ability in a world of challenged attention spans, 12-second attention span, whereas a goldfish has 9 seconds. Humans in 2018 have 6 seconds. So we really like to talk about this stat when it comes to VR because we think that by immersing people into this realm, it really helps your focus and attention. Immersion captures the full attention of fans and gives fans control whenever and wherever. So you can put on this device and see what's going on and be here today in this presentation. So Google's scaled approach to VR is that starting at the bottom, we are encouraging creators to make 360 videos that will first be put on YouTube so that even if you don't have a VR headset, people can download these videos from wherever and watch them. So it might not be in a VR headset, but at least they'll start to understand that you can watch this video and then turn it around and see different angles. The next step on that is custom web, cardboard enabled, or YouTube VR app playback for desktop via web VR. So those are things like with cardboard. So cardboard's you can use cardboard on Android and iOS. So that's something that will be the next tier to getting people to kind of jump into this VR world. And then at the top, we've got our more advanced VR headset. So that's Daydream, and then soon to be the Lenovo Mirage Solo device that's coming out. So we kind of see this as like literally like a pyramid, where starting at the bottom, it's more accessible for users to the top of a more advanced experience. So here are some of our cameras that are actually out in the market. Cardboard camera, anyone can download that from the App Store now. The Yi camera and the Jump camera, well, the Yi is online, you can buy that, and the Jump camera actually has a website where you can go and apply to get that as a loan if you are working on a video project. That would make sense to use something like this. And so we worked with a number of big brands to bring VR video to Daydream through YouTube. Some of them built their own mobile VR apps as well, and we're supportive of that, but we definitely lean on YouTube as a big driver of VR usage. And we've been working directly with YouTube creators and our YouTube Originals team to build great content to Daydream that we can leverage, like Game Grumps, Step Up, etc. And so one of our temp polls is everyone is talking about this cool VR thing. I have to check it out. So here, and also I could never get this close in real life. It feels like I'm there. So we're really leaning into the idea of using VR as a specific medium for something that a television or a game console or any other medium for that matter wouldn't be able to provide. So we did an example is MLB on the Verge. We chatted with Mookie Betts, an outfielder on the Boston Red Sox, and we're not trying to recreate things that are already well produced. We just want to show people how they can consume the entire space instead, like, for example, focusing in behind the scenes or a locker room or dugout, taking people places that they otherwise wouldn't be able to go to, and with players that they care about. We also did a series with Vogue, Condé Nast on supermodel closets. This is Kendall Jenner, and so it's a similar concept where you can actually watch this now on YouTube, and it's the same with MLB presentation, but it's really neat to be able to see all around the closet, and we get to control where we look and not necessarily the video producer. So that's a little bit about VR. Now let's move to AR, where things can be brought to you. What if you could answer questions like, what's that? How does that dress fit? What does that car look like in a different color? Or where in the store is that one kind of screwdriver that I need for a project this weekend? So we think AR marks the next big shift in what's possible with mobile devices. AR Core, which is our SDK for augmented reality, is now on over 100 million Android devices. AR Core SDK is broken down into motion tracking, environmental understanding, and light estimation. So one of the first key features is motion tracking. AR Core uses the device's camera and an inertial measurement unit to track where your device is in the world using a process called concurrent odometry and mapping. The camera is looking for visually distinct features that it can track over successive frames and build up a point cloud that it can use to localize against. Unfortunately, this picture is supposed to be moving and showing a scarecrow there, but for the sake of this presentation, we'll just pretend that there is an AR scarecrow there. Environmental understanding, and so this one would be an example of where those dots are. You would just imagine assets, the images that come in there. So when AR Core sees clusters like this of featured points that appear to lie on common horizontal surfaces, it makes these surfaces available to your app as planes. Not just an infinite plane, AR Core also provides the known bounds of the surface as a flat polygon. And this one, the guy in the background is going to be turning the light on and off for light estimation. So AR Core gives you a value representing the average intensity of a given camera image. This information lets you light your virtual objects under the same condition as the environment around them, increasing the sense of realism. You can use this lighting information to make things happen in your real scene. The lion in this demo, will get scared when the lights turn off. So with environmental understanding, motion tracking, and light estimation, AR Core provides all the information you need to make 3D objects look believably placed in the real world. And so he talked about how Android is the most popular device in play, and we foresee AR being available on 2 billion devices plus. If you want more information about what's going on in AR and how to develop for it or what other apps are created, check out, this is arcore.com for 4 pillars. And then also you can just go, if you have an Android phone, you can just check out the Play Store. iOS has a collection as well. So no matter what your phone is, if you're interested in learning more about AR, just go into the app or Play Store and search for augmented reality apps because there's a ton out there. Okay, so I talked a little bit about VR and AR. Now, how do AR and VR fit together? AR and VR make up our immersive computing world. So AR and VR are points of a spectrum of immersive computing. So you have reality on one side and virtual reality on the other, and augmented reality in the center. So real world versus computer generated. I like to kind of say I essentially see these two mediums as the same, but just through a different lens. All of this leads to the fundamental principle that deeper immersion leads to higher engagement, and higher engagement leads to better brand outcomes, from favorability to sales. So we're hard at work exploring how AR and VR will power these opportunities for brands and users and educators. We think that this year and next in 2019, we'll see much of this possibility come to fruition. So here are some of the data that we've seen so far. A lot of excitement around AR stickers, VR video brands, and things that have increased sales for companies like Howes and Jeweler. So for people that are building these apps, the shift has real-world meaning. So immediate reach to nearly 1 billion AR-enabled devices in 2008 200 million VR viewers in 2018 and magic viewing on YouTube, Facebook, Snap, and major publishers. 2, creating new marketing channels. So with AR, new services and micro moments become new brand touchpoints and points of sales. Third is improves existing marketing channels. So out-of-home ad becomes location-specific activations. Video ads become storytelling experiences. 3D search and display ads become digital showrooms. The fourth one is more effective customer relations. So improve brand advocacy, help people access the information and products they need and where it's needed. And finally, higher sales. So immersive, interactive advertising brings consumers closer to product, reducing friction to purchase. So essentially, VR and AR have a lot of value to businesses, what all those fancy words mean. But of course, it's still early. So I like this slide because it kind of represents where we see ourselves and in this crazy world of VR and AR. Very much at the beginning, haven't even come close to a smartphone, essentially. So we are at the early stages and the exciting times. So what do we build next with knowing all these things? Well, first, how can we be different together? So this is key because there's a lot out there, there's a lot of noise, but it's important to choose an initial opportunity to focus on that scales millions of users directly and via aggressive deployment. So a niche AR experience is or think of something that everyone can use, or find a way to put it where users already are. So instead of just kind of using the feature, we like to say figure out a way that it's helpful for others and yourself. Take a multi-phased approach. So you can start small and grow over time. Try to figure out what the great experience is and what can you do today that's a great first step. Immersive computing is the future. So technology that works more like we do, and investments in VR and AR compound. The immersive media explorations that we're doing is we have print and AR, display ads, and video and VR. I haven't spoken much about the display ads because, but essentially what that is being able to, you can see a finger, but you can finger to swirl around and see the ad more clearly. So that's kind of in our realm of things that we've been working on as well. And so here's an example of some great AR experiences of using the magazine to grasp material. And then the other one is going to be a video where that also shows up and embeds different content that wasn't already there. So here's an example of using AR in a store where you're reading a book and you hover your phone over the piece of content, and then you have additional assets or objects that come into your scene. The feature film Hidden Figures inspired this augmented reality app that brings to life virtual statues of the film's compelling characters. So Katherine Johnson, Mary Jackson, and Dorothy Vaughan were in the app on the right's experience. In the 1950s, these incredible women helped NASA launch the U.S. into space with their calculations. Used in this augmented reality app to discover the remarkable contributions made by these women and others. So that's pretty neat on the right side. And on the left side is the Wall Street Journal, being able to visualize like data charts and things like that make it a little bit more exciting to see what's going on the stock market. And so then here's the ads. If you could drag to rotate to see each of these. And this has been really powerful for agencies that we've been working with. So going forward, we're definitely, I think it's a great spot to be where you all are right now as far as studying this world, but and also figuring out how to better create assets is going to be a really powerful place to be in, because all of these companies are going to need developers and companies to help create things like this that show up. So that's always exciting space to be in. And so this one, doesn't really move, but it's essentially a fun way of showing different items and things like that in your scene. It has like little emojis on it. Just lets you kind of drop different objects in the scene, so that's pretty cool. And then I'll jump into some other since we have a little more time. I'll talk a little bit about more about Google Cardboard. So VR. So over time, these technologies will make computing more immersive, intuitive, and powerful. So when we think of VR, we don't see a niche technology. We want to make virtual reality accessible to everyone, like we're doing here today, of anyone being able to jump in. So, having an Oculus or a Vive or whatever headset it is, unfortunately, they're expensive today. But the benefit of having cardboard is that they're less than $10 and work across both mobile phone platforms, iOS and Android. So it's been really cool because we've been able to send these to schools, mostly like elementary and middle school, and I guess some high school as well, to help them with learning. So instead of just reading in the textbook, then they can put on their cardboard headset and then actually experience what it was like, in the 1950s, for example, and walking around a scene or like seeing space and really being able to put images into your mind so that these kind of concepts will be more clear to understand and help the learning experience. Kind of like today with everyone being here, being able to actually visualize this presentation and see each other in this new world helps you to really be ready and available to remember this content. And then one more slide. Daydream overall, we have a thesis, mission, and approach. So Daydream is a content platform. So content is really where I sit in all this crazy world. So figuring out how we can get more experiences to our platform is really key. So curated and designed to serve users and creators. But without really good content, we don't have a great platform. So that's how, really figuring out how you can build 3D assets or come up with an awesome VR app that users want to engage with. Those are how we're trying to solve the friction point for some users that might not be getting into VR as often or wanting to get there to start with. Our mission is to evolve our platform through video, so engagement, innovation, and monetization. And then our approach is deliver repeatable native VR formats, episodic series, live events, and more. So we've come a long way, but have a lot more to do. So yes, with that, I guess I will go ahead and hand this over to, is it Mike for a QA session?
All right, so thank you, Alex. So yes, now we'll be opening it up for a Q&A. If you have a question, please indicate that using the call for attention button, which is the exclamation point on the top right-hand corner of your screen or on your tool belt in VR, and then we will take your question. Yes, Alan.
Hey, Alex. Hey, everybody. How are you?
Hey, Alan.
Hey, great presentation. Thank you so much, Alex. Woohoo!
Yay.
I want to say thank you for everybody, but Alex, that was a great presentation. One of my questions, and you touched on it a few minutes ago. You mentioned, rapidly creating 3D assets, and I think this is, it's something we were working on, but it's a big issue. And is that something that Google's working on, or they're looking for partners, or what is the strategy around that? Because as we move into this, I think it's going to be a big issue.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. Great question. We're focusing less on creating content ourselves. And to answer your question, we are looking for 3D asset partners. And so especially as moving forward with making more of these apps, working to partner with agencies or or companies, all different types. We're pretty much open to whatever, but we like to think about focusing more on the technology and then having strong partnerships that do the content, because we're that way. We do what we do best, which is the tech part, and then finding key players that can help us with the 3D assets would be awesome.
Amazing.
Let's see. Any other questions?
So we have one from Twitch, and that is that one of the key reasons that people go to conferences is to meet others, so social networking. And often that happens in the hallways of these conferences. How would you like to see this be incorporated into an event such as this one?
So how would I like to network with people for this conference?
Yeah, so like how would you like to interact with people in terms of the just general people coming and going in conferences like this one?
Okay. Sure. So is that for me particularly, or like how I view the whole conference?
Yeah, sure. Like what would you like to see incorporated into things like this?
Okay, yeah. So I am a big fan of the Twitter, of the hashtag that we've got going on Twitter, merging realities. I think that's a great way to connect with people when you go to conferences, especially if it's not your first to go up and talk to somebody. Social media offers a really great way to kind of break the ice a little bit and maybe follow someone or like their comment or message them privately and then say like, hey, can we meet up? Or if you have questions to ask that person, that's a good way. LinkedIn, Alan has an awesome LinkedIn profile. If you guys aren't already following him, I love to stay up to date with the news that he shares. So that's a good way. And so I think if you're ever kind of struggling with knowing how to get these things kickstarted, is just to read what's going on and have a conversation to talk about, and then that'll kind of naturally flow the conversation. But yeah, so social media, and then also I put my email up on the slide, so feel free to email me and connect with me if you have any questions about this presentation, or are looking to build 3D assets or build a game or app or anything like that. I'm always eager to chat with you. But I think also another powerful way to have social networking opportunities is when conferences do have these sessions that you can chat. And so I think the lobby is intended for that, right? So like people can go out there and talk and understand what's going on in each other's world. So did that sort of answer the question?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. And it looks like we have another question from Alan.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about that last question. Would be really cool if in the lobby, as a warm up to an event like this, you had some games to play, similar to the spaces or sandboxes or something like this, so that when you get to the lobby, you can play a game of air hockey with somebody and just get to know different people through that before you come into this, because we just jumped right into this presentation. I'm looking around. I don't know Tyler over there. I don't know Peter. It'd be great to to do that. And I think gamifying some pre-built get to know you kind of things, some icebreakers would be really cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. Games are always fun, especially if we could even do like AR games or something like that. But yeah, I think that's a great idea, getting people starting to talk and warm up. Exactly. I like that idea.
All right, so we have another question from the crowd here. Go ahead. Armel, you should be unmuted if you would like to say your question.
Message from Malcolm. It arrived. Thank you so much.
All right, so I guess he is having some audio issues. So if you would like to, oh, hello. All right, so if there are any other questions, we
Alex,
can
I have
take
one
them.
more question, if possible.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Your email is on there. I think it's hard to read in the Vive, but it says akatzen@google.com. Are you a good point person if people have questions to reach out to, and you'll connect them with whoever the best person is?
Sure. Yeah, happy to do that. And yeah, so my focus, just so everyone knows, is working with developers mostly. So,
Okay.
and Alan, of course, you asked about 3D assets. That's something that I could kind of work with someone on my team to connect. If anyone was interested in building assets, happy to make that connection. And of course, VR and AR is where I spend most of my time thinking about with developers. But yeah, if anyone has questions about how to work with other teams like Google Arts and Culture or Maps or anything like that, yeah, feel free to send me an email, akatzen@google.com, and I can we can take it from there.
Awesome. Thanks.
Sure.
All right, so Arnold managed to deliver his question to us through the Twitch stream, and it is that you mentioned the scale of AR to VR, but currently they feel disjointed, and he's wondering what you're planning on doing to unify these two, to create one unified VR and AR experience.
Yeah, so right now we're let's see. We're sort of thinking about them separately in a sense. I mean, there are some apps out there that, like Across Realities, it's a solitaire app that you can play on AR, on your mobile phone, or in VR. So I think we're really trying to lean in on apps that kind of address this behavior of being able to access the content no matter which medium you're attending it from. But to be honest, it seems like we are kind of thinking about VR and AR separately for now, just because they are so relatively new. We're still trying to teach users how to use both mediums, and so down the road, that seems like something that we'd focus on more as time goes on about how to incorporate them the same way. But for now, that's kind of why at the beginning of the slide, I think it was like slide 2 or something, that I kind of showed like the difference, because a lot of times when I go into conferences or chats with people, I like to show them the difference between VR and AR, because a lot of people are still kind of not quite sure about how that works. So I think by kind of keeping them separate for now, I don't know if separate's the right word, but kind of keeping them as, like I have in this slide, where you have augmented reality on one hand and virtual reality on the other. That's so that we can get people up to speed with how to use these tech. And then down the road, leaning into more of those apps that do address using VR and AR, like Across Realities. So yeah, great question. But I think we still have a little bit of ways before we're really focused heavily on that right yet.
All right, thank you so much. And thank you, Armel, for your question. Are there any other questions? And for those watching in the IB Theater, you can ask your questions there and they will be delivered to us. All right, so it looks like we have a question over here. Go ahead.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay, my question is around the different platforms. So all the content that's on Daydream platform versus maybe the YouTube videos that you're talking about in 360. I wondered if Google produced sort of data reports out to the community that we could maybe use for when we're growing, when we're thinking of content and building apps and worlds for a project ourselves to help with VR? I wonder if those sorts of data outputs are something that Google shares.
Can you say that last part again and maybe speak up a little bit?
Yes, sorry. I just wondered if Google shared any data outputs across the platform, so maybe how many people would use the Daydream versus the YouTube, and whether there was any sort of trends there that, you know, might help us grow when we're building virtual reality content ourselves or platforms ourselves.
Okay, so you're asking about data.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have any data to share about Daydream right now, but I will say YouTube, if you go to youtube.com/VR, there are over 1 million subscribers there, and that website is actively curated, manually curated with different videos. So if you have videos that you're interested in being featured, feel free to send them my way, and I could nominate them for featuring on YouTube VR.
That's awesome. Thanks very much.
Sure. And if there aren't any other questions, well, feel free to keep the questions coming. But I would like to ask actually what people in the audience are currently working on, if anyone's working on a VR AR project, what they're doing and what their role's in, and if no one's working on it, what kind of ideas have you gotten to that you want to work on down the road?
So it looks like we have another question over here. So go ahead.
Okay, so I see
Tyler,
the camera looking at me. Do you hear me?
All right. Yes, you are coming through.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you, Tyler. Go ahead.
Good, thank you. So I was a bit late to the party, so if you've already addressed this, I apologize, and just let me know that you've already addressed it. Thanks. There's a bit of a delay, so I'm getting a loop here, but
You sound super clear here, so just ask your question.
so one of the things that I wonder is right now with both virtual reality and augmented reality experiences, we seem to be at this point where everything is siloed. All of the experiences are separate. You experience them separately, and there's no dynamic linking between them. With your experience, or in your experience, or maybe with some of the Google roadmaps, what are you looking at in terms of linking these experiences together to have more of a seamless transition from one VR experience to the other, from one AR experience to the other? Are you looking at things like WebXR? Are we in a world where we're going to have these proprietary systems that sort of put us, either we're in a Rift environment, or we're in a HTC environment, or we're in a Daydream environment, and we create each of those experiences separately and experience them separately? Or are there efforts to make them link together in sort of a headset agnostic sort of way?
Yeah, so we are actually working on Web VR right now. I know that's been a big push, and even Web AR, so how we can get more creators into these technologies. So that's one. And then the second one is multi-platform is really important to us. So a lot of deals and partners that we work with, we don't ask for exclusivity. Simply because we actually want our partners and content creators to be across as many platforms as possible, because then your product performs better, and then it helps grow the VR AR ecosystem as a whole. So one thing that's nice for AR in particular is for those developers that are using Unity, they can create their app and then add in either for iOS, it'll be an ARKit SDK, or on Android, AR Core SDK, and takes about a day or maybe even a week, but most likely like a day or two to port the content from platform to platform, and then you make all your app changes just on Unity. Same with Unreal, or if you were to do this natively, although I think there might be a couple more issues down the road there. But with AR, we've learned that we really do want to make it as seamless and easy as we can for developers to be across multiple platforms. And then again with VR, having the web VR, and then also actively encouraging our developers to be across as many platforms as possible. And I do see down the road maybe it'll be one store as opposed to like Play and Steam and Oculus Store. Like there's so many different areas to purchase content. So maybe down the road we could kind of find like one central hub of getting those apps so that it does become more or less siloed and more linking between different experiences.
All right, great. Looks like Alan Smithson also has another question.
Hey, Alex, awesome. I think, as we move forward with this, is Google at all working on AR glasses, or is that, something they've just invested in Magic Leap to, develop for them? And, as we move to persistent AR glasses in the future, everything, in my opinion, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think everything has to move to web. And is that kind of the direction? Is that the thesis that everybody's working towards, that in order to have persistent AR, that, can be AR, VR, XR, MR, whatever, but to have a pair of glasses that you walk around in your real world every day, to have that, you're not going to be walking down the street and say, close the map app and open the shopping app. It's going to be just a seamless transition. Is that something that everybody feels is, is that the kind of general consensus, or is the app stores really where we're going to keep going?
Yeah, great question, Alan. That's kind of why in the beginning I was saying, AR and VR, yeah, we're thinking about as two separate mediums, but really they're going to be essentially the same, because with these AR glasses that come down the road, and to answer your question, there isn't anything that I know of right now about AR glasses on Google's end. Obviously, we're heavily invested with Magic Leap, and then there's HoloLens on Microsoft, so a lot of stuff's going on there. But I am extremely excited for wearables, and think that there's a lot to offer there. So yeah, I think so. Web AR is extremely important, but it's also kind of figuring out how we can make processes easier for developers, right? So like, even if it doesn't mean web AR, how can we make our SDK more available and have more tools for developers to use, so that it then in time becomes easier to then create an app. So no movement on AR glasses on Google's front yet that I'm aware of, but then also web AR is extremely important, and then also just making our tool set more full of various actions so that we can make it easier for everyone involved.
So when can we expect AR Core on web?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me see. I know right now we're really focused on apps, but I don't have an answer for you now, but I will let you know. Also follow along on our Google VR, the Twitter handle for both VR and AR.
What was that? Sorry, what was that? Google Twitter again? Sorry.
Google VR. So just,
okay.
yeah, twitter.com/VR.
Google VR.
Google VR, yeah. So that's where we'll be sharing a lot of news, and then also just on the Google website, we will be sending out more information as we get closer to knowing when we can actively launch AR. But the ads stuff that I was kind of showing you about is like an example of entry-level AR. So like being able to toggle around objects to see them. So yes, I will let you all know once that happens via our website.